This will probably be the last vid I'm going to make about the lot that I purchased off of Facebook Marketplace. I guess a week ago now. It's been a while. I was just cleaning up and sorting the pieces into my collection after washing most of them. I talked about the dirt and the wheels that were stuck and rusted. Overall, I'm more than impressed with the pieces for the money that were in the lot. So it's very, very nice that I still think it was a worthy buy, even though there was more effort into quote unquote refurbishing or restoring the pieces, but it makes for good videos. So hey, it's a win. Yes, I will pay to make more videos. So anywho, it just comes down to now I was fixing up the minifigs. So this is one I've already done. So I've already put one of the Brick Sticker Shop stickers on this torso. And I did it with dirty fingers, which I'm going to have to fix now. So I'm going to have to take this one off and put a new one on, because you can see there's a little bit of dirt right there in the corner. Not that I'm not, that picky, but I should do it right. I mean, I got enough stickers to do it. And I should have washed my hands before I did it. So rule number one, when you're applying transparent stickers, wash your hands. So I was so busy cleaning the pieces, and then I came in here to put stickers on, and that's what happened. But I'm going to, so they got more yellow torsos, which is always nice. I guess I got enough. And some red ones, which is great. This is the dirt that I'm still talking about. No, I took a toothbrush to these guys. But you can see right into the leg hole there. I don't know if you can see, there's still dirt inside that I can't get at with a toothbrush, and I don't feel like taking the minifig legs apart to get at it. Here's a worse one. You can still see the dirt inside. Overall, I'm not going to worry about it. Unless something else happens, I'm not going to get like a high pressure hose or whatever, or like a dentist pick to get in there. I'm not going to bother. These things are just going to go into storage, into the container there, and be put into the layout. So overall the outsides are clean, which is nice. And they're, again, I'm very pleasantly surprised to see Lego from the 70s and early 80s that are not bitten and not like melted, or like one of the lots I got before, lots of nice pieces, but a lot of them were just bent, broken, smashed, bitten. I don't know. It was very, very odd. These pieces, considering their age and considering the state that I found them in after washing and cleaning, look at that. Like they're almost like, I won't say out of the box new. And you can see that from this guy. So that's what I want to talk about. So these are my last pieces. So this guy, I mean, again, I have a few of these. But again, this is older than this. So probably an older generation. So this would have been more played with than the Space Guys, obviously, and as younger. So I will even admit my pieces from the early 70s, a lot of them did not hold up nearly as well as my pieces from the late 70s, because I was 4 and 5 instead of 8 and 9. So, or 10 and 11. So a lot of my pieces may have looked like this. Hard to tell now, because I don't know what my original pieces are in my collection anymore. Yeah, even watch that. That's nice, but it's got some wear to it. It's probably shuffling around in a box, so it's not glossy anymore. You can see the scratches on it because, it sits in a box and you move it around. And as a kid, you're shuffling, looking for pieces, which is why I like sorting now, because then I don't have this kind of stuff. I was impressed with these guys. Now, yeah, this one's got a little bit of a blemish on it, but the black is still black. And I have so many faded prints of the white 1x4 with lines on it. I have so many faded ones, and the blue ones especially, that I'm happy. Again, obviously they owned them. And even the logo's faded on the fig, but the torso is not blemished. Well, it's got some scratches on it, but hardly noticeable. So very, very impressive. The arrows and the logo. The logos always fade. What are you going to do about that? I'm going to see if these sticker shops have replacement or ways of covering that logo with something new. And minifigs, or pre-minifigs, again, older, so they're more scuffed. Again, that's just my hypothesis about why these older bricks are looking more worn out like that than the newer, quote unquote, newer bricks of the time. So this would have been mid 70s, and this would have been late 70s, early 80s. I mean, yellow didn't come out to 1982, so this would be 1982 versus mid 70s. So I think, again, as a kid grows up, the sets that they had first are going to get more played with more roughly than the later sets they get. So, because that's exactly what happened to me. So it's just my hypothesis. But yeah, and the 924, again, nice to have. And the 918, obviously, that I'm going to finish building today. I'm going to take the parts and pieces. And so I was talking about that. So this is the quote unquote basic blue brick that I haven't washed yet twice with the toothbrush. And that one's not going to be washed anyway because of the dings in it. But you can see there's a little bit of dirt, and usually some of these are pretty clean on the inside. I don't even know what that is. But I'm not even going to bother because I have pieces. I might go through it and figure out if I want to keep the slopes or not, because 2x4 slopes are always good to have. But the basic brick, as I've shown you in previous videos, I have so many of them that I don't need to keep these into my collection. I don't have to, like, that's filthy still, right? And so why am I putting effort into this 2x4 brick? I can just put it into my big Toto front. And what happens is I will get a call from a friend, and they have a friend, so a friend of a friend. Oh, I have kids that want to, they have all these new sets with all the specific pieces, but they don't have any bulk big pieces, bulk basic pieces. So I will just fill up a shoebox. I'll just go in there and grab a whole bunch of handfuls, put them into the shoebox, and either give or sell it to them. I have no problem with that. I have three, again, not a huge collection. Some of my friends have bigger collections, but I have 3 totes in the garage, 3 big Rubbermaid totes of just basic brick, of the various original colors, yellow, black, white, red, and blue. And 1x1 to 1x8 and 2x2 to 2x8 bricks. Because again, in my collection here, I have all these little shoe boxes and they're already full. So there's no point in me keeping those down here. So again, somebody calls me and they want basic brick. I have lots. So these will end up in the basic brick bin outside. I will probably take the slopes out. But when I'm building this guy, I'm actually from here on out, I'm going to be grabbing from my collection, as well as not too many pieces in here that I've cleaned twice now with the so I mean that's going to be used. So any pieces that are in here that go into this set, like this guy, no, that doesn't go in there. I have to think about that for a sec. This guy does. So I'm going to grab the pieces out of here, and then I'm going to grab the rest from my collection, and I'm going to finish this guy. Oh yeah, and obviously the hinge piece. And obviously I didn't get a 4x6 trans clear or trans yellow, so I only have a 4x12 and a 6x8. So these will just put into the trans clear bin. So that's what I'm going to do with this guy. I'm going to finish him up just because, I can. And then I'm probably going to put him in a baggie because, again, I don't need up on my shelves here. I've showed you before that I only need one of each on display. I don't need multiples. And I still have to clean this guy again. You can still see the dirt on the inside. So I will have to rewash him. But again, considering the dirt and stuff, it's a little scuffed when you look at it like with the light shining on it. But overall, when you look at it from a distance, it looks pretty good. And I've seen worse. I've seen clean lots come to me, like very, very clean, immaculate lots come to me, but you can't see through the trans yellow because it looks like somebody took sandpaper to it. Right? So, and again, I'm not faulting them because, when I was a kid, I did a lot of playing with my collection, and my friends came over and we did a lot of building, and we did it on basically sometimes on the concrete floor in the basement. So we would dump the box out on the concrete floor, and so like it's sandpaper. So it's like, had I known then what I know now, but then again, had I known then what I want to know, I would have gone into a store at Zeller's, say, and I would have bought a cardboard box full of Galaxy Explorers and brought them home and sat on them for 50 years and sold them. And retired. So, but I didn't know then what I know now. I honestly would have been nicer to my Lego collection. I wasn't the worst. Some of my friends again took lighters and whatever, but I was even as a kid, I liked my Lego collection, and I liked to treat it nicely. But you're 8 years old, and you're running your car over the stairs to see him smash up. I did that. I mentioned in another video that this card here, which I remember getting for Christmas. This is the very first Lego piece, not this specific one, but this 3x4x1 slope, black slope, is the very first piece. I vividly remember breaking, and it was this car together. And what I was doing is I was like right into the fireplace and watching it smash and putting it back together. This is great. This is a lot of fun. Hey, smash up derby. Because back when I was a kid, you could buy a toy called Smash Up Derby, which is those wind up cars, and they go across ramps and they hit each other, and the doors fall off, and the roof falls off, and you put it back together and you do it again. And hey, this is great fun. So I thought, let's try that with Lego. So this thing was smashed when I was 8 or 9 into the fireplace, and the pieces would fall off, and I would put them back together. And then one time, this whole front end, this whole lip here, broke off, and I was mortified. I remember to this day, again, I'm 54 now. This is almost 5 decades ago. I was mortified that I broke a piece of Lego. And that was the first one that I remember doing. I would say, by accident, I broke a lot of pieces since. And now what happens is that, you are trying to separate a 4x10 off of something else, like taking a Galaxy Explorer apart, say, this thing will just disintegrate. Like, seriously, old gray and a lot of old blue plates, just leave them. Honestly, if you have a build, because if you put a brick separator on here, you'll break those two off right up. It'll just snap right off. Or if you try, ooh, this is already starting, right? You can see a little crack right there. I built, this is why when I build my Galaxy Explorers now, I just leave them together. I am not taking them apart again because you will absolutely wreck every single 4x10 in there trying to get the thing apart. I don't think there's a way of restoring that. I think it's just the brittle of age, a different kind of plastic. And even like these are the same age, and this one went this way and this one didn't. I think this was underneath and whatever. But yeah, I am fast realizing that old plates from the 70s are brittle now, and so you build once and you leave them alone. And since you can source other 4x10s or whatever, and not to say this, but why would you take apart a Galaxy Explorer these days? You put it together, you leave it together. Anyway, I know when I was a kid, and my brother and I used to get in big arguments about how long sets would, any builds, any mocks that we would build as, 8, 9-year-olds would stay together, because I would say, oh, I need that piece for whatever I'm building now, like a day later. And we used to get in pretty big fights about that, because he wanted his semi-truck that he built or whatever. He wanted to keep that together for a while. And so we had to come to a compromise. Actually, it was a, top down, push down from above compromise from the parents who were sick of the arguing. Mom stepped in, intervened, shall we say, the big brother, the government stepped in when we were kids and says, we are going to come up to an equitable solution for this. And so we settled on the week that anything that you built that you wanted to keep would be able to stay together for a week, period. No matter what part's in there, no matter what year's going on. If you built something, like I built this thing, and my brother needed this part. No, a week. And we even got put on the calendar. I built this on Thursday, whatever, and you cannot take it apart till next Wednesday. It was funny when I look back at it now, but I just remember, I can laugh at it now, but I'm sure as a 6-year-old or 7-year-old, I was pretty much, I want that part now. Mom was pretty good at clamping down on that kind of idea. But after which, it became just norm. You build something, you put it on a shelf, you play with it for a week, and then you take it apart yourself. You didn't have to wait for your younger brother to take it apart for you. And then after that, honestly, Brian hit high school. My brother hit high school, and he was not interested, because it was our collection, the three of us, Terry, me, and Brian. And so Brian, obviously being older than me, he had sets when I was 2 or 3. He got Lego sets. So that'd be 1970, 69, 70, 71. There's pictures of Brian getting Lego for Christmas in beginning of the 70s. And then I got older, 4 or 5, and I started getting Lego for Christmas, and I posted a few pictures of that. And then Terry started getting Lego when she was, 5 or 6 or 7. Like, our family was not, you're a girl and you get dolls. which is why I think Terry and I got along so famously well, because we were in the sandbox together, we were in the treehouse together, we built, we flew kites, we we made forts. We had such a great time growing up, and we had Terry and I got along a lot better with the Lego than Brian and I did when we were young. So the example is Brian's 9, I'm 6. Brian and I did not get along a lot because I wanted pieces and he had them built into whatever. He was a better builder, obviously. He's 9. But I wanted to build something, and I need that piece, and that's why Mom had to step in. But when I'm 9 and Terry was 6, we had a fantastic time. And Brian was still there. Brian was 12, and he understood as a more adult than the rest of us that kids are going to be kids, and that was a good time for all 3 of us. When Brian hit high school, it was just Terry and me, obviously. And Terry and I had a fantastic time playing with Lego, building on top of the pool table, and because we were already at the new house. And then Terry got close to high school, and she stopped playing, and I didn't. So it's pretty funny, actually, when you think about it. Brian gave it up, Terry gave it up, I inherited all their sets. I look back with such fond memories of the 3 of us growing up with this, and what we used to do is we used to basically in the basement just have this whole Lego city, and this is before minifigs. I mean, this is even before these guys most of the time, and little cars driving in and out, and lots of mazes and stuff. We had such a blast, and it is a time. And I will say part of my love of the hobby today is based on the fact that I had so much fun as a kid with it, and going to my cousins' places, and they had Lego, as I said in other videos, and all my cousins are older than me, and they had lots of Lego, and even when we went to my Uncle George and Aunt Nellie's, they're my cousins there. Their kids are one of the oldest kids, my whatever, don't have to go into family dynamics, but they're 10, 12, 15 years older than me. And so when I went into their house, they had Lego from the 60s, the early 60s. So not just 1 by 1 round bricks with the groove in the bottom, but 1 by 1 round bricks without the groove in the bottom. Like that old. And it was all basic, and yet we still had such a great time playing with it because it was different than our Lego. And it was just basically white and red, and even that translucent connector for the wheels to make a train and stuff like that. And that was fun. And because they were so old, and this is a thing that I remember vividly, we would build something. Terry and I would build something in my Uncle George's house, at Nellie's house. We would build something, and we would go back there the next week, and it would still be there because we were the only kids playing with Lego because their kids were all off at university. So that was fun too, and it almost became an expectation that when Terry and I built something at Uncle George's place, that it would be there the next time we went back. And it was like one of those little things in the world that was consistent. Oh, we're going to Uncle George's place, I get to play with whatever truck I built last time. That didn't work for going to my other uncles and aunts' houses because, of course, their kids are younger and they're going to play with the Lego after we leave. So that's a memory that I would go to my other uncles and aunts' places, and I would expect to see my truck that I built there a week or 2 ago. No, because it was taken apart and built into something else. And but that stands out in my mind that I go to my Uncle George and Aunt Nellie's place, and whatever I built the week before would still be in the box. And it was just nice. And so you're a 6-year-old or 8-year-old or whatever, and hey, we're going to Uncle George's, yay! Anyway, so these are the memories that I have. And so that contributes to my love of the brick. It contributes to my appreciation of the hobby, and it's just gotten better because, as I say, the people I've met, the shows I've done, the places I've seen, and the enthusiasm of fellow fans. Because again, until the internet, as I said before, so from 3 to 12 it was me, Terry, and Brian. playing with Lego, and then they basically gave it up when they hit high school pass, and I didn't. And I through high school, Jake and Pete and I made the movie together, but they were not actively playing with Lego, but I was. but and they I won't say humored me. They appreciated my hobby, and they said, "Hey, we can make a movie. So let's get together. Let's make a movie." And we did. And then I started fiddling around with electronics when I got my Commodore 64, and I built the interface card, And then, but again, I was the only kid in high school that I knew of that was still playing with Lego, and like more adult ways of playing with, or teenage ways, because making movies and building interface cards to me was more than just 6-year-old just building random things out of Lego. So that got me through high school and into college. And then even when I was in college, some of my college friends heard about the movie, because again, I won't shut up about my hobby. So they heard about it, let's see it, and they loved it. And again, because you're in college, you're past that. Oh, that's childish. Overall, the kids I met in college, my fellow classmates that I met in college, were very nice and decent people. Overall, I can't think of a single person that I was in college with that was, oh, tut, you're playing with Lego. No, and they said, hey, because by that time we had a copy on a VHS tape. Can I borrow it? Sure. And they loved it, and it was great. And so that got me through college, and I was still building, and then by that time I had the motors going with the Commodore 64 and having a great time with that for programming. And then in the 20s and 30s, as I said, I lived in a house with friends, and the entire basement, because I took over the entire basement, was my Lego collection, and people would play with it, right? They would come over, because we had the party house, because we're, 20-somethings that are renting a house, and all their friends flocked. And as they say, on Sunday after church, we'd all go back, and we would all sit down and play with Lego. My collection, it was awesome. And then so I made it to my 20s, and then when I got my own place, there was a bedroom dedicated to my Lego collection, and because where else am I going to put it? And I had a little space layout, actually a pretty big space layout. and then I was a garage sales and flea markets and thrift stores back then, and finding more Lego. But I was the only one that the entire time from then until 1998, I will say this straight up, for the entire time from high school to 1998, I never met another person that was actively playing with Lego at my age, or even any age above 16. Never met a single person. I thought I was alone in the world with this hobby, and I didn't care that I was alone, because some people have hobbies that are unique, and it never bothered me. It wasn't until 1998 when I bought the RCX off the shelf, and I went online, because I never even thought about it before then. Like, seriously, until I bought the RCX, I never thought, because I was online, I was building websites for my university at 1991, like 92. I mean, it was very text-based back then. It was like links. But still was HTML. I never thought, hey, let's type in Lego into a search engine. I can't believe I never even thought about it. Because I would have loved to have virtually met Susan Todd back when they started LugNet. I mean, I got into LugNet, quote unquote, pretty early, and I didn't actually send in my money until well into it. So I'm like 18, 20, not like 6. So number 6 subscriber to LugNet. 18, 20, still pretty good. But it wasn't until 1998 that I even found another adult that wanted, or was a fantastic person to hang out with, that played with Lego. I do have a story about halfway through the 90s, early in the 90s, when I put the ad in the newspaper for Lego, Want a Lego, and I was going to people's houses and buying their kids' collections, because their kids growing up and no grandkids, whatever, let's get $60 for a box of Lego. Which, again, made my collection huge, and even going and seeing that retiree out there in Selkirk, which again filled up the back of my pickup truck. It's fantastic stories. There was a guy, West End Hamilton, answered my ad. He said $125, and again I can go into that. I said in the ad $100 max, but he says 125, and I would go out there, and he lived in an apartment. I don't know what floor, and I walk in there, and there's him and his wife. And he had not just Rubbermaid totes. He had those gargantuan totes that are the size of bathtub totes. You could have a bath in them. He had 4 or 5 of them stacked in one room, and they were just chock full of Lego. And the entire house was Lego on every shelf, every surface, everything had Lego on it. And this is before Mega Block became that big, or maybe it was, but he was, again, like me, just 100% Lego. And I didn't get a bad vibe from him. But I got a little bit of a Sheldon Cooper, but not the smart Sheldon Cooper, just not a lot of social graces. I'm trying to have a conversation with him, and it was like a little bit like pulling teeth. But anyway, $125 he says, and he gives me this box of this Lego, and I said, "Oh, that's perfect. That's $125," and I take it. Thank you very much. I scoot out. I get a call from him a month later. Hey, $125. I'll give you another box. I say, well, this is odd. You're calling me again. I mean, the ad's already done, right? And he's calling me a month later. So I go out there, $125 in my hand. Hey, oh, that's worth it. And this went on for about a year. I think maybe not a year, maybe 8 times I went out there. Again, I'm surmising. I'm honestly surmising. Either the missus is telling him to downsize, which I'm very happy that my wife has not told me to do, or they're trying to make rent. And either way, I'm not. It's not my business. I just showed up every month with $125 in my hand, and he would give me a box of really nice pieces, and we would quote unquote negotiate. Oh, that's not like it was a box of basic. No, I don't need basic brick, dude. That was like the 4th time out there. The first time was like really cool parts. The second time like classic space, whatever. The third time was like a box of basic 2x4s and 2x2s. Dude, like, are you kidding me? We've talked enough. You know what I have in my house. I've told you what I had. I'm not here for a box of basic brick, and I wasn't mean about it, but I said, no, thank you. I don't need any more basic brick. And we'll put this in and put. Oh, sure. Now it's worth it, right? Because I didn't want him to think he's doing me a favor, and I don't want me to think I'm doing him a favor. This was a negotiable, trying to come up with what's good for both of us. If he's in a hard spot, he didn't let me know. If it was a hard spot, I will absolutely willingly change my method of dealing with people. If you're in a hard spot, if you're a hard luck, if you got, just let me know, dude. Like, I'm such a, again, not to go on this tangent, I won't say a bleeding heart liberal, but I am appreciative of the world. I'm appreciative of my quote unquote luck and serendipity of me going through my life, considering where I was before, and the wonderful family I've had, and the wonderful friends I've had, and how many times, quote unquote, I've been bailed out on various topics, on various things. I've been extremely blessed, straight up, extremely blessed in my life, and I've never ever said otherwise. The friends I have, the family I have, the places I've lived, the people I've worked with, the people I've interfaced with, I've been extremely, extremely blessed, and I'm forever thankful for that. And so I have no problem, quote unquote, passing it on to other people who are having a tough time, even if it's something small, even if it's something like, and I've done this before. Oh man, Dave, I just recently got into Lego, and it's very, very hard to acquire X pieces from 1972. Are you kidding? Look at my room. Look at my room. And I'm not going to charge you the Bricklink going rate, because I know you, quote unquote, I know you. We're friends. I know you're not going to turn around and resell them for the Bricklink going. You're going to use it in whatever display you have. And so that's not like a hard luck case. It's just this is what happens. You're born a decade after I was. And you didn't have the chance to put an ad in the paper. You didn't have a chance to go to people's houses. You didn't have a chance to hit the garage sales in the 80s to pick up all this Lego that was just $20 for a huge cardboard box of Lego, because nobody knew, quote unquote, and it wasn't at the time, Lego was expensive, right? Like, why would I be this miser, this whatever his name from Alistair Sims? Why would I be this miserly guy hoarding all my wealth, or Smaug in The Hobbit? Why would I be here hogging all this wealth to me and screw the rest of you guys? No, I have no ego in this. I do this because it's fun. I'm really enjoying my hobby. I have the pieces I want to build the stuff I want. But as you know, and as everybody knows, when you have a Lego collection, 98% of the stuff you're not going to use. You just don't know which 98%, but 98% of this collection. There are some, and I mentioned this before, there are so many tangents now. There are some people out there who buy the parts they need for the build they're going to have, which keeps their inventory extremely low. And I applaud them for it. Like, they can think in their head what they need. They know all the pieces that are out there available, and they think, or they draw it out, whatever, and they order the specific pieces they need, and that's it. I can't do that. I need to be able to go into like a bin of 1,000 different parts and say, oh, I need this specific one. that's how I bought it, because that's how I did it when I was 8. I mean, seriously, this Lego collection is 5 billion times bigger than our collection that we had when we were kids. But it's still the same thing. I go into a box, I sort around, and this is why I don't try to sort down to the part. I sort, oh, this gives me an idea. This ladder piece. Oh, I wasn't thinking about it, but this is better for me now. Again, I talked about that in a different video. But anyway, it's getting back. So many tangents. We're already into 30 minutes. I'm going to wrap this up. I'm sorry. I was going to make a really quick video about these guys here. I've been blessed. I have, and it's not like anybody who asks me for a part or a piece that I have is a hard luck case. That's not what I'm trying to infer here. I'm trying to say that I've been blessed, and a lot of other people haven't when it comes to this specific hobby and the rest of their lives. But if we've done shows together, because again, most of my subscribers, I know, I've hung out with you. If we've done shows, you know what I have here. And if you say, hey Dave, I need a part from whatever, here, I'll bring it to the next show. Then when we get to do shows again, here you go. Or I'll mail it to you. Here you go. Right? So it's like, why wouldn't I? I don't know. I don't have any issue about that at all. You guys all stay safe. I've gone on too long. I'm probably gonna not edit this because I don't. But I'm going to finish this one with pieces from my collection and put it in a baggie in storage, and we'll go from there. And you guys all stay safe, take care, and wear your mask. And we'll see you at the show when this show starts up again. Talk to you soon.